is weird. It's 2023, I've got a new laptop with a 3D screen, and there's a new Avatar movie out. It's like 2009 all over again, except this time I don't need a pair of pesky glasses to actually watch this, because this is the world's first glasses-free 3D OLED display. You're gonna have to take my word for it, but this T-Rex's head is sticking out to about here, which is very cool, although it does raise a few questions about why, and what else can it do, and how much. So I'm here at ASUS's booth at CES 2023, and there's a lot of new tech, including new laptops. We've got the new 3D Studiobook, of course, and actually I should say that 3D screen will also be an option on the new Vivobook Pro 16. ASUS also very kindly came over to my house with a few of the laptops for me to have a play with ahead of CES, although these pre-release samples were using older hardware. Basically, they're just for preview purposes, but I still want to give you a walkthrough, because as well as the fancy schmancy 3D screens on the Studiobook and the Vivobook, we are also getting next-gen hardware in the form of 13th gen Intel CPUs and RTX 40 series GPUs, upgraded displays, a new dynamic mux switch, which lets you switch between hybrid and dedicated GPU modes on the fly without having to restart. And there's also a few nice extras like their stronger antimicrobial guard plus coating that can even stop COVID. So let's start with this guy, the new ProArt Studiobook 16 3D OLED. And it's their flagship creator / workstation laptop. And for a few $100s extra, it can come with this auto-stereoscopic spatial 3D display. And it really does work. It uses a lenticular lens film on top of the panel, which splits the image into two, one for each eye, with the two IR webcams at the top keeping track of each eye. Now, to answer a couple of questions I had, yes, you can see the 3D on two of them at once if you want to buy two for some reason, which is pretty cool. Also, it can only track one pair of eyes at a time. So if you are showing this off to someone, you kind of want to make sure that they are in the sort of center so it doesn't pick up another pair of eyes and throw the 3D off. So that is one limitation. It is limited to one person. You can't watch a 3D movie or show off a 3D render with more than one person at the moment. Sometimes it can take a second or two for the cameras to lock on and track your eyes, and then in that meantime, you're sort of seeing the blurry 2D image, or if it sort of switches to 3D and then back to 2D, and it can be a bit jarring and disorientating, but 90% of the time, it works really well, and genuinely gave me a sort of jaw-dropping wow moment. But anyone really who uses or creates 3D assets, VR or even metaverse developers, and I can just imagine being able to show my latest creation to a client on your laptop, no glasses, and manipulate it in 3D. It would blow them away. You can of course also watch 3D videos and movies like Avatar 2 on this if you want. YouTube supports 3D side-by-side, although there isn't a ton of content and nothing that's been uploaded for a while, really. And you do have NVIDIA 3D Vision for games, but all that feels a bit secondary and a bit of an afterthought, and you can't just simply upscale or adapt any content to work in 3D. But that is just the screen. There's a whole lot more to this ProArt Studiobook, and this can be spec'd with up to an RTX 4070 and a 13th gen i9, plus 64 gigs of RAM and a whopping 8 terabytes of storage. They've also moved the hinge a little bit further forward this year, so there's actually more room for cooling inside, and actually reduced the weight and size overall. Plus the hinge is now 180 degree, so it can lay pretty much flat. I'd say it's like 170 degrees, but close. This touchpad is now 28% bigger, and it's absorbed the physical separate touchpad buttons that were previously underneath. Although my one criticism is that there isn't a 4K screen option, which isn't the end of the world, but on a 16-inch laptop screen like this that's meant for creators, it would have been a nice option. And also it tops out with a 4070, not a 4080 or 90. So alternatively, and actually if you want something even more powerful, definitely consider this guy, the Zenbook Pro 16X OLED. And I managed to get hands-on with this a couple of weeks ago, so back to Tom in the studio. There is definitely some crossover between the two. We still have the ASUS dial, although it's pared down a little bit, and also a big 16-inch screen. But one thing this does uniquely offer is this ergo lift hinge. So if I close it, if I sort of get central, close it down, and then open it up, you can see this keyboard actually lifts up, and there's a little light underneath as well because we have this full RGB keyboard. So that actually helps improve airflow, keeps throttling to a minimum, and arguably improves the comfort of your typing experience. Although maybe not for everyone. What is really interesting though, aside from the very snazzy RGB logo on the back here, is that uniquely with this model, ASUS have worked with Intel to create a custom chip, a bespoke CPU, which actually incorporates the LPDDR5X RAM directly onto the chip. They've had to tape over the CPU label here, as I was showing this before Intel's embargo, but this means they can achieve much higher RAM speeds. Plus, the Pro 16X OLED now gets liquid metal on the CPU to keep things cooler for longer. Again, though, you can say this is a pre-production model, so I can't wait to review this properly and see just what it can do with all that new hardware and just how fast that RAM can actually get built into the chip. Now, if you do like the idea of this, but perhaps want something a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit more portable and compact, and also a touch more affordable, then consider this, the smaller ASUS Zenbook Pro 14 OLED. We still get the latest Intel CPUs and NVIDIA GPUs, albeit the slightly lower powered components, but given the 1.65 kilogram weight, the fact that they've squeezed in a bigger 14.5 inch screen this year, up from 14 inches, but still a 2.8K resolution, 16:10 aspect ratio, pretty much all these ASUS laptops are 16:10 now, which is great, and also OLED, 120Hz, a touchscreen with stylus support. We do still also have the dial, but this is the screen pad dial as it's built into the touchpad, with similar functionality, but sort of minimized into the touchpad, and of course still the Pro Creator Hub 2. An upgraded Full HD webcam. This is shaping up to be a really great all-rounder and travel companion. But wait, that's not all. I have one more Zenbook I want to show you, and it is a bit of a looker. Ooh, look at that. This is the Zenbook 14X OLED. Now this 14X is a little bit more affordable, a little bit more mainstream than the Zenbook Pro series, but still very capable. We get a similar size 14.5 inch screen, not a touchscreen this time though, but it is still 16:10, still 2.8K, still 120Hz, and still OLED, so very, very nice. But this has actually had one of the more significant upgrades, I think. We've gone from 90 to 120Hz versus last year. We also now have the latest generation Intel processors, and for the first time on the 14X we have a dedicated GPU option. Sadly not the next gen cards from NVIDIA, but we do have up to the RTX 3050 in this, which is going to be a big upgrade in graphical horsepower versus the previous integrated graphics. Not bad at all for this 15.9mm thick 1.5 kilo laptop. They've also significantly improved the webcam, now Full HD with an IR sensor, and on the outside we have this brand new finish and color. It's a PEO, or plasma ceramization coating, giving it a matte, kind of stony texture to the aluminium chassis. It's also smudge and fingerprint resistant, and I really do like this sandstone beige color. It's sort of like a more modern take on rose gold. And also I've just realized this also has a 180-degree hinge, so you can lay it flat. And a lot of people say, why is that helpful? Why would you want to do that? Well, basically, just so when I'm laying on the sofa and I have my laptop on my legs, I can sort of push it further back, or if you've got it on a laptop stand, that extra flexibility does come in handy. So that is the new Zenbook 14X, but there's one more laptop I want to show you. And the battery's on 2%. Okay, let's do this quickly. This is the new Vivobook Pro X16 OLED. I'm really excited about this for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it also has that 3D screen option, the spatial 3D screen like we get on the ProArt Studiobook, but while it is still going to be an optional extra, this is going to be the cheapest way of getting that technology. Also, Vivobooks are meant for more mainstream creators with a little bit less emphasis on unique form factors or the thinnest and lightest designs, but still packing in some impressive specs, and particularly with this top-of-the-line Pro X16, with this 2023 model not only adding the latest next-gen hardware, but also the more powerful HX series processors. Previously it used just the H series, so that will draw more power and give us more performance. We also get the new adaptive mux switch, so as I say, you can go between the dedicated graphics and the hybrid option, which saves power. Now, without having to restart the laptop, we also get a slightly higher TGP for the graphics, and you can even eat your dinner off this now. Why? Because this Vivobook, as well as a handful of other new models, come with the new Antimicrobial Guard Plus coating. This builds on last year's tech, which also came to the Vivobooks, but now actually helps to prevent the growth of viruses as well as bacteria, including COVID-19, they tell me. And apparently that has been proved by a few different labs and some medical reports that they've done, and essentially that means that this has to prevent the growth of over 99% of those bacteria and viruses over a 24-hour period. And it's on the touchpad, the palm rest, the keyboard, and the lid. And considering how gross and grubby our fingers get, and particularly if you're going to share this with different people, having this new Guard Plus coating is actually a really nice upgrade. The Vivobook comes with two screen options, either a 3.2K OLED 120Hz or a 2.5K IPS 165Hz. I will update the description and a pinned comment with more pricing and details as it comes out. And if you did enjoy the video, a like and subscribe would be lovely. And I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.